Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening or good morning, depending on where it is you are listening from today. This is Janet O'Keefe of the SEN Revolution speaking to you on Radio Works World. Well, this has been a very exciting week, and I am currently in Romania, where I am working with an amazing charity to support young people who have physical disability, often as a result of birth injury or sometimes medical accident. And the reason that I'm here with them is to help them with their eating and drinking skills. And it's just such an honor and such a privilege to work with such amazing, dedicated families. And to be able to do that in this modern world, not just in the UK where I'm based and I live, but to be able to connect with people using this forum on the radio, but also connecting with people in other ways, whether it be Zoom or Skype or any of the other platforms or social media, but also to be able to travel and work with families in other countries. And although the systems are different, so that the laws of the country and the services that are available and whether there is equipment available and those sorts of things may vary from country to country. I think that there are some common threads that come through with every single family that I work with or speak to. Which is when any family has a member within it that has any form of special need from whatever cause, it completely changes your family dynamics and it completely changes your social circle and the people that you mix with and the opportunities that you have. And one of the key things that has really helped and supported the families here in Romania is having a charity such as the Jonas Trust come in to bring them together, because many of these families just didn't know that there were other families in their locality. We're here in Cluj Napoca, up in the north of Romania, in Transylvania. And many of these families were quite isolated and they didn't know that other families were around and available. And the charity has brought these families together to not only, give them ideas and information to go into their own homes and be able to work with their own individual family member, but to actually have that social circle, to actually have that connection, and to help each other practically, and with moral support and emotional support. And I know that you'll know from my own personal story and from the discussion that I had with you last week, that I really know from the families that I work with that they tell me that there are 10 things that have made a difference in their lives and the lives of their families, and I've written those things in and expanded upon them in my recent book. But that in thinking about them, I think there's an extra element, and all of these things can be brought together under sort of 4 main headings, really. And the first heading is about emotional support, emotional well-being. And the parents cannot continue to give as much as they do to their family member if they themselves are depleted and are not operating from a place of not just adequate well-being in terms of having their basic needs met, but from a place of generosity. Because of course the person who has special needs is very much in the hearth and the heart of the family. And, you know, if they're okay, the parents are okay, but they can still be in a place of complete sacrifice if they're not getting enough sleep, if they're not being well supported and are able to engage in activities on a daily basis that bring them joy. And we know that we can offer so much more and bring so much more to our young people if we ourselves are in that place where we are full up of support and joy and love, and that we are able to love ourselves in every way possible. The next area is obviously our physical well-being, which can cover exercise and say food and nutrition and water and sleep and all of those things. And so many of the families that I work with have to get up in the night to turn their young people because they can't turn over themselves physically, and obviously would get very sore if they were always in the same position during the day and during the night. They often have to feed or supervise eating for their young people for more frequent mealtimes, smaller and more frequent mealtimes. They may struggle to get adequate water into their young people because they choke on liquids. So, you know, actually being able to have really good quality discussions with families about some solutions to some of these issues, to helping them get those adequate sleep and nutrition and exercise into their lives of their young people, but also to get them into their own lives, and not always having to take their young people with them, so that they actually get some individual time, either with other family members or indeed on their own, just to get that, to replenish their energy levels and their energy banks, and to have some sort of spiritual connection, whatever that might be for them. For some families, it may be a religious belief and wanting to be able to go to church or Bible study or house group or something like that. And for many other people, it may be doing some sort of yoga practice, which involves their connection to something bigger than themselves, whether that be, you know, source energy or prana. You know, it doesn't matter in many ways what you call it. I think it's just so important for human beings to have those connections, both. And I remember visiting a really special school in Bristol in the UK, where they had the most disabled young people in the country there. They were children who were had sensory difficulties. They had problems with their hearing and with their eyesight. They often had severe learning difficulties, challenging behaviour, physical disabilities that were particularly challenging. And their behaviour was such that they could not tell the difference between things that were edible and non-edible. So they needed 2-to-1 care, one person to actually look after their physical well-being in terms of keeping them physically safe, and the other person to make sure they didn't eat things that they shouldn't do when they were having their lessons or activities. And you know, many years ago, I remember in many countries, children like this were not educated. They were put in a home or a hospital, and in some countries possibly still are, because they were deemed to be uneducable. And this wonderful school, which is a Steiner School, had people in it from all over the world who absolutely believe that even when somebody is incredibly disabled in these ways, they have an intact spirit, and that they are here in this lifetime, in this body, to learn things in the way that we are all here to learn things, but they are also here to teach us things in the same way that we are all here to teach us things. And they created a rhythm of the day, a rhythm of the week, a rhythm of the month, a rhythm of the season, and a rhythm of the year that used music and other sensory activities that would enable every young person, even though they didn't have language and they may not have very much cognitive understanding or sensation, that they could all participate in some way. And the longer they were there in the school, the more they would show recognition when those patterns repeated. So they would have certain music that they played when it was time to wake up in the morning. They had certain music that they played when it was time for meal times or break times. They had certain music on that was the same on the same day of the week each week rather. And they had a piece of music that would be played every day for the month of the year. And they would have another piece of music that was that they, rather than having assembly in the usual way that schools do, they would actually encourage every single class to encourage every single member within that class to that was appropriate for the season, that they could go together once a week and add it to a central display in the school. And just once every season, which was once every 6 weeks or so, they would come together as a whole school, but not necessarily stand still. They would come together in a particular afternoon and go in class group at a time and walk around the display one at a time in order to see the finished piece. And so if it was wintertime, for example, they may choose ice as their snow and ice as their theme, and they would all of them create pieces of art that contributed to this exhibition that were all around the theme of snow and ice and snowflakes and whatever was appropriate to their level of understanding. And then they would add it to this central display, and they would add sparkly twinkly lights to it to make it really come alive, so that the children could come and there were things for them to feel and smell and taste and see. And there was the music of the season playing so that they could really fully experience it. And then it would be taken down, and then they would start preparing the activities and the display for the next season. And, so I think there are always creative ways that we can work with young people in order to communicate to them through the environment, through creating those rituals and rhythms that even the most disabled in society can really come to experience. And it's for these reasons that I have created the SEN Revolution and this SEN Revolution show, and that I'm wanting to create an SEN revolution that's not just about, say, fighting the system or fighting for the rights of your child or the support that they need in school or the funding that they need, even though that is sometimes necessary and needed, but to actually focus on these 10 things that are absolutely the things that, if we focus on them, will make a positive difference in the lives of these young people and everybody in their family. And then taking it beyond that by including the legal professionals in our community and the specialist teachers and therapists in our community who are developing all the time wonderful environments and schools and programs that can really help and contribute to our understanding and knowledge of people with all sorts of specialist needs, so that they do have a future. They do have not just a positive future, but a valued place in society, so that their voices are heard in whatever way they can speak them, and that their contribution to society and to our learning and understanding is equally valued and respected in every country in the world, in a way that doesn't feel like it's there at the moment. It feels very much that they are treated as and made to feel vulnerable in society and therefore not worth listening to, and all of those sorts of things. So I'm delighted to be bringing together this week an amazing group of people who are going to talk to me about those 10 things, and they're going to talk to me about how to have bliss in your life, how to find others like you, and come together as they have here in Jonas in Romania, but you know, we support many charities in other countries too that do similar sorts of things. That they'll talk to us about sleep and how to get sleep for all family members, to how to look for the beauty in the cracks. Isn't that a wonderful title? So looking, you know, when we think that times and life is really tough, how to find the beauty in those moments as well as in the lovely moments. To be able to balance ourselves and keep calm at all times in the quickest and most effective way possible, so that we can be there in the right frame of mind for ourselves and our young people. How to use all our senses and all their senses to, let's say, stay calm and be able to modify their behavior, and indeed modify our own behavior. And how to empower people with disabilities of any age to live more abundantly in the world, which is what we all want for all of us. It really is about how we communicate, and that includes how we communicate visually, as I say, and through other senses, to listen to parents, and that parents know best, and to enable parents to be able to trust their instincts. And I've got several parents who are going to just tell their stories and share their successes in order that we can learn from each other and continue to grow and support each other. So if any of you want to join us, you can do so live by messaging me, Janet O'Keefe, or emailing me, or indeed going to any of my websites and just signing up for the recordings there. And over the next few weeks on Radio Works World, I hope to share some of the learnings that I get from hosting this summit, and how I put those into practice with my own son. Because, you know, if you come across any professionals that tell you they know everything about everything, or that they are an absolute expert, I would run a mile, because I learn something new every day. And the day I stop learning would probably be the day I give up and stop trying to teach. Because I think that every single family that I work with, and I include my own child in that, teaches me something every single day. And I think that you know, we need to go into these relationships in as open a way as possible, so that we can connect with each other from our heart. And if we do that and come together into an SEN community, then, you know, who knows what potential we will unlock in ourselves and in our children for the future, so that they can be the pioneers, they can be the role models that our future generations of young people with needs, but also actually take their place, take their rightful place in society, and change those attitudes in society and in governments and all those places that we need to influence over the next generation. So you know, unless you have any questions, Marina, I think that you know, that's been my thinking and my learning this week in terms of wanting to really reach out to people and share with people that, you know, if we join together, we really can make a difference in the world. Okay, I think we've lost Marina, so I'm going to say to everybody on the wonderful Radio Works World, that I really appreciate you tuning in. I really appreciate you listening. And as I say, I would be delighted if you would connect with me, Janet O'Keefe at the SEN Revolution. And I look forward to sharing with you again next Monday at 4 o'clock UK time, whatever time that is for you in your countries. Bye-bye.